I'm Karin. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making gnocchi à la parisienne. Who doesn't love a good gnocchi? Instead of being made with potatoes, this kind of gnocchi is based on a classic French cooking technique, the choux pastry. All you need is flour, water, eggs, and butter. And besides, I need to save my potatoes for Easter. It's spring, so I'm craving all things green. Today we're going to douse our gnocchi with pistou and top it with pine nuts, lemon zest, and Sarbecchio cheese. Generally speaking, choux pastry, or pâte à choux, has equal parts liquid and flour by volume. We're going to start by heating our 1 cup of water, plus a couple of tablespoons, and 5 tablespoons of butter. Once the water is simmering and the butter has melted, we can add our flour and salt. Turn down the heat. As soon as the flour is in the pot, give it a good stir. It should come together almost immediately. We're going to cook it here for a couple minutes or until a film forms on the bottom of the pot and the dough doesn't stick to your fingers. In the meantime, we can set up our mixer with a paddle attachment or just a bowl, a spoon, and our best mixing arm. If you're using a mixer, just set the speed on low and let it mix the dough a little bit. It'll help it cool off. We don't want to cook the eggs on contact. Or just be patient and let the dough cool a bit in your bowl. Let's heat up a big pot of water. I'm getting a baking tray with a little bit of oil on it. The dough isn't piping hot anymore, so now it's time to start adding the eggs. Whenever I'm adding eggs to something, I like to crack them in a separate bowl first, so it's easier to remove any errant shells. We're going to add our eggs one by one. With each egg addition, we're looking for the dough to become smooth and come together as a ball before we add the next one. This is easier to do in a mixer, but the dough will come together either way. While we're adding the eggs, we can also add about a tablespoon or 2 of grated cheese, a hard cheese, like Parmesan or Pecorino. Gruyere also works well. The cheese is optional, but it is traditional, and it's great if you have it. After 3 eggs, the dough is smooth, but it's starting to get stretchy and less springy. We don't need any more eggs. Now we transfer the dough to a pipeable container. In my case, I'm going to use a reusable piping bag with a tip. But if you don't have that, you could also use a plastic bag. We've got our dough in a bag, a little paring knife. If you have any little helpers in the house, now would be a fun time to recruit them, although you can do it by yourself. My water is at an almost boil, or a gentle simmer. It's good that it's not at a rolling boil because that would be too tough on the gnocchi. They're just tender little guys. So with one hand squeezing the bag and the other hand using your knife, you're going to cut the gnocchi in about 1.5 inch pieces. You can wet your knife in between and that'll help it not stick. As the gnocchi cook, they'll start to float to the top, but they still need a few more minutes. Once these have puffed up a little extra like this, you're probably done. It doesn't hurt though to take one out and break it in the middle to test it. You can use a strainer or a slotted spoon to get these guys out. Keep going in manageable batches until your dough's done, or save the dough for a few days. Once your gnocchi are all cooked, you can put it in the fridge just like this. It'll help them cool off and get a little bit dry on the outside. That's good for how we're cooking them today. While the gnocchi is cooling off, now we can get our pistou ready. Here I'm using 4 small garlic cloves, a loose cup of basil, and the same amount of parsley, and just a little thyme. If you have a mortar and pestle, you can use that. I don't, so I'm trying to mimic that the best I can with my knife. This is also a great time to use any frozen pistou you might have. Parisienne gnocchi is also lovely in a Mornay sauce. And then baked in the oven. You could add in all sorts of things, little green vegetables like peas or asparagus, crispy little bits of ham or other cured pork. But this will be a lighter and brighter version. Now we just added a little bit of salt and just enough olive oil to cover our herbs, and we'll give it a good stir. I'm gently toasting these pine nuts on a low to medium heat, but keep an eye on them. And I decided I'm going to throw in some gnocchi-sized pieces of asparagus as well. I have my toppings all ready because the cooking part will happen fast. I've melted a generous tablespoon of butter on medium-high heat in a cast iron. Butter will give us better browning than other fats. The butter is just starting to brown, so we're going to add some gnocchi. If your pan is hot enough, but not smoking, and you give it a little shake, that will help keep the gnocchi from sticking. Instead of stirring it constantly, I'm going to let it get a little brown on one side first. Remember, the gnocchi is already cooked, so we just want to brown the outside. If we leave it in the pan too long, it will get tough. This is beautifully browned now, so I'm going to add the asparagus and pistou. I'll just give it a few shakes to incorporate those flavors, and then we're taking it off the heat. I wish you could smell this right now. If this doesn't make you feel like it's spring, I don't know what will. I finished this off with a little lemon juice and zest, Sarvecchio cheese, and you guessed it, parsley oil. The zippy fresh flavors of pistou and gnocchi just kissed in butter will be perfectly complemented by this pique pool that New France carries. Check out what my friend Aaron has to say with this delightful California pique pool, and also stay tuned for some Easter ideas this Saturday. I'm Karin. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. If you're stuck on a desert island and you need to make choux pastry, just remember it's roughly equal parts liquid and flour. I'm gonna go outside now.